Who are you giving qualifying offers to?
We have extended qualifying offers to Pete, Sean, and Sevy.
For Severino, what ultimately led you to that call?
Yeah, he had a great year. We want him back. This is sort of the first step in that process, and so we'll see where it goes.
Given what the rotation depth chart looks like at this moment, how many starters do you want to add in the offseason?
Yeah, I think multiple is kind of what I'm going for. How many multiples, I don't know yet. And we talked about this last offseason too. You can build pitching staffs in very different ways. And you can do it via adding starting pitching and going for length at the front end of games. We could structure our bullpen a little bit differently next year, where you've got more multiple inning options that can eat up innings. But certainly we need to find some innings, and a part of that's going to be adding to the starting rotation.
How important is an ace? Manaea was pretty close to one in the second half, but you made it to the Final Four without a known true ace. Is that important to you to have an ace?
Look, having a horse at the front end of your rotation always helps. I think Sean served that this year. He had a heck of a year. There were points during this year where Sevy did that for us. So you need starting pitchers to pitch well. I don't know that I'm going to go into it has to be sort of the name brand ace. But you certainly need starting pitchers who can carry the load for you.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, the way you built the rotation this past year was very successful. But it seemed like you guys were in a little bit of a different spot, right? You were kind of feeling out the roster, wanted to be a playoff contender. Do you feel like you have to build it differently in that sense? Like John said, an ace on the front. Does it become more important based on where you guys are at now? It's not just as much of maybe a feeling out year as it was a year ago.
Yeah, I think the way we built our rotation last offseason, as you said, was successful. I think we're seeking to build another successful rotation, however that occurs. And you can do it in a variety of different ways. So I don't feel beholden to do it in any particular one way.
Did you try to preemptively do something long-term with one or both of these guys? Have you had those kind of discussions?
I'm not going to get into specific negotiations or discussions with any particular player.
What do you think of this crop of free agent pitchers, starting pitchers overall?
I think there are some good options there, and we're at the very front end of this whole thing, and sometimes free agent markets move quickly, and sometimes they take a long time to sort out. So, we're beginning all of those conversations, and I look forward to having those conversations.
Have you decided on your coaching staff yet?
Yeah, we're going to bring the entirety of our major league coaching staff back.
And everybody in the same role?
Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't happen a lot here.
But these guys did a very good job and are very deserving of coming back.
David, how are you viewing center field this year? Obviously, Bader now free agent. You had moved Nimmo to left. Is that part of the consideration moving him back to center, or would he stay in left field?
I think Brandon did a really nice job in left field, and he also did a nice job occasionally moving over to center and spelling Harrison or Tyrone. For the most part, I think we should expect to see him in left field next year.
Where does that leave you as far as center field options? So you just explore free
Yeah,
agency
we'll have to
trade?
explore free agency and trade. We have a lot of confidence in Tyrone. Tyrone did a very nice job at all three this past year. I think he can do a nice job wherever we ask him to play.
Are there any players on the market worth over $500 million?
There are a lot of free agents out there, and I'm sure we will have conversations with a number of different free agents.
Do you actually, at this point, have you gone far enough to know what, say, Plan A looks like for you, Plan B, Plan C, and now you go into it and start talking to people to see what can be executed?
I think at this stage in the offseason, you have players of interest at all segments of the salary structure, at all segments of free agency, at all segments of trade. I have never structured an offseason with linear plans, Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. I think it's much more fluid than that, and it's very difficult to know exactly how any plan is going to take shape until you begin those conversations and frankly make a transaction. Once you make one transaction, it changes the shape of your entire offseason.
Can I maybe ask it a different way? Do you go into an off season where you're like, this is the player I'd like to pull down most, whether it's a trade or free agent, and then try to build around that concept?
Not necessarily. I think we go in understanding that there are likely going to be various ways where we can make our team better and add pieces to our team that are going to allow us to compete at a high level. And there are certain players who are going to make a larger impact in that endeavor. But I generally don't get focused on one or two individuals.
Are you going to be more focused on looking at for a first baseman or a third baseman?
I think we'll see how the market plays out. I think we're fortunate. I think we have some infield depth. Obviously, Pete has been a big part of this team for a long time, and certainly we're going to keep in touch with him.
How do you go in as far as the payroll and resources are concerned? I mean, Steve doesn't seem to set any hard and fast parameters, which is something that you weren't used to in the past. So how do you approach that? You just approach what players make sense at what price, as opposed to thinking about what the whole payroll is going to wind up costing at the end?
So we understand we have financial flexibility. We also understand that flexibility is not limitless. There are bounds to what we can do, and there are bounds not only this year, but there are bounds in future years. And we have to be cognizant of all of those bounds. So Steve is going to support what we think are wise baseball initiatives. He's going to support those initiatives as much as any owner in baseball. And now it's our job to execute.
When you say that, does that mean there's flexibility in where you think you can go? In other words, like, has Steve given you a hard number, or if you think like you can make a case for a different number?
I think it's an ongoing conversation. I don't think there are absolutes in anything we do as an organization. There are understanding that there are trade-offs. And we have to be cognizant of those trade-offs. And when we reach a point where we're considering something, we talk through it and ensure that we're all on board.
Do you feel comfortable with Vientos at third, or would you feel comfortable at first? He hasn't really played much first.
Yeah, I think Mark can play both. And to his credit, he's shown that with his work ethic and diligence, he can get better defensively. And so I'd have confidence with Mark at either position.
David, after this season, you had mentioned, and Carlos had mentioned this too, about running out of gas a little bit, particularly the pitching staff. Is there anything from like an acquisition standpoint that you take away from that maybe you can apply to this offseason?
So the shape of our season, I think, to some extent, contributed to the tank running out a bit earlier than we would have hoped, and we had to push so hard from June 1st on. And our players talked about it even in June, where at times it felt like we were playing playoff games in June and July. I think our group did a tremendous job of carrying that forward deep into October. You never really know when you're going to hit E. And unfortunately, we probably hit E a little earlier than we would have liked.
What is your attitude or mindset toward signing other teams' players who have the qualifying offer and the draft pick cost of that as well?
Yeah, it's part of the equation. It's part of the valuation of how much we're going to pay the player, trying to evaluate alternatives on the market as well. Again, there are no absolutes, so I could imagine scenarios where we sign one qualifying offer player or multiple qualifying offer players. I could also imagine scenarios this offseason where we don't sign any qualifying offer players and maintain our draft position. So I really think it's very early to determine how any of these scenarios play out.
The team, I think, won 96 games, but didn't get off to a particularly good start for a team that won 96 games. Is there anything to look at there, or you think that was just the luck of the way it worked out? I mean,
What, including postseason?
yeah,
Rule
I
90?
meant to, yeah, I think
Yeah.
89.
I was like, wow, you gave us some extra.
You're 96, but you're
I-
89 at least in the regular season. And,
Yeah.
and you didn't look like an 89 win team for the first month and a half.
No, we did not.
Anything,
I think for the last 4 months of the season, we probably looked like a 100-win team.
Yeah.
We were probably playing at about a 100-win pace. So, look, this is why we play 6 months. I generally think that your record after 6 months is a pretty good indication of your talent level, of how you played. And I think that was true for us this year. We played, I think, under our expectations for the first 6-8 weeks of the season. And then, fortunately, we turned it on with enough time left to get us to the playoffs.
Is there anything to be applied from the way the Dodgers go about things as the team that just won the championship?
Sure. I think the Dodgers have done a tremendous job now for a decade of being competitive every single year, of putting very good teams together every single year, obviously getting to the playoffs, in many years advancing deep into the playoffs, now having won 2 World Series. So I think, sure, you look at them and we have to admire and respect what they're doing.
What went into the Phil Maton decision?
I think just at this stage of the offseason, wanting to keep our options open a little bit, both in terms of how we're going to structure our bullpen, who those people are, and where we're going to spend our resources in our pen. I talked to Phil, expressed interest in keeping in touch. I think he feels the same way. And he's a good pitcher. Whether it's with us or elsewhere, he's going to be just fine.
your right fielder was pretty solid and very good in the playoffs. Are you open to adding a right fielder?
We'll evaluate
Subtle.
the entirety of the free agent market. And certainly Starling did a great job for us in the playoffs, and happy he's coming back.